so you see why. And then everyone started to actually share stuff easily between each other with Badoo and Facebook, and Twitter, and WeChat, and Snapchat, and everything became consumerized. So there was no control anymore. And anybody could exchange value one-to-one on the second generation internet. And now we're entering this third generation Internet of Things, where machines deal with machines. And if you think about the fact that the forecast is by the end of this decade, the average person will have 7 things on the internet, smart things on the internet. Maybe television, a car, obviously some form of device that accesses the internet. It might be your watch or your phone or both, or your shoes or your handbag, depending on what you're wearing. Then you can imagine that that's 50 billion things transacting trillions of transactions per day, per minute, 24/7 of small values. Downloading an episode of a trailer of a movie, downloading a page of a magazine for microcents. So how do we deal with trillions of transactions of very small amounts of value? We're not going to do it through the existing financial network, which is why we're opening up the network. And I've already said that. And the challenge for us, if you're a bank, of which I think most of you are coming from that community today, is that we have an old bank. Most of our banks go back a couple of hundred years or more. The oldest bank in Europe is Montepaschi, Siena from 1478, still around just. The oldest bank in Britain is Barclays Bank from 1692. Lloyds Bank celebrated 250 years of existence last year. And this is actually what used to be the old bank in Stratford-upon-Avon, which has Shakespeare on it. It's a great bank branch. If you ever go to Stratford, have a look. It's HSBC's bank branch now, because it's Midland Bank. And what we did is, in the 1960s, we implemented a system that created a ledger for the branch of debits and credits, so that we could actually see in overnight batch updates across the bank what people were doing with the bank, and replace their passbooks with electronic balances. And then we got to automate cash with cash machines, and call centres gave us remote access to enthusiastic people on telephones. And then we put in internet banking, and gradually made it look a little bit cleaner and fresher. But this is still that old bank statement. And the reason why I say that is that most banks still have a ledger-based system as their core of debits and credits. What's interesting is that the bank launching in Britain right now called Loot, which has been created by a student who dropped out of Manchester University. He's now 23, but he started this at 21. And the main reason why he's dropped out to launch a bank is, you think, how would you drop out of university? I mean, he was doing law, he wasn't even studying finance. Why would you drop out and launch a bank at that age? Is it because this is no use to a student, in that it tells you what you've spent. You want to know what you're going to spend. Because the problem is, once it's gone from the account, the bank then charges you if you go overdrawn, and that makes you even poorer as a student. What you want is to know what's coming. So his bank is all about visualizing cash flow forecasting for millennials. And he's now got hundreds of thousands of millennials using that bank service as an app, with an onboarding cost of less than €1, because it's all word of mouth. And this is the mobile bank app of today. It's still a ledger-based transaction app system for most. And so we've got to reinvent this, and that's our challenge, to reinvent all of that. If you look at online banking from the 1990s, it hasn't actually changed much today. It still looks pretty much the same. And it's because we're stuck in that legacy heritage. We're cemented into the past. And how do you break the cement to get out of that heritage is the fundamental challenge for every bank I deal with that's been around for more than 30 years. How do we get rid of the past? How do we open source? How do we digitalize? How do we get into software as a service as our distribution network rather than branches and humans? To typify it all and really lay the point home, and I know you all know what the problem is, but this is the structure of most organisations. They've got what they call channels, but I don't use that word because I can't stand the idea of a channel, into a middleware system that presents to the channels something that looks quite pretty, whilst at the back end there's a mess. And This is actually my slide from 1997. It shows how long we've had this problem. Because I was presenting this back in 1997 when I ran strategy for NCR. And the real thing we were doing is providing a multi-channel integration layer to disguise the back end that's just been listed on the PIC, basically. That's what we were doing, just trying to make something that's a mess look pretty. We need to digitalize that mess. We need to make that rationalized, consolidated, real-time, accessible for all through access media. It's not channels. These are all just accessing a digital core structure. And the digital core structure is the challenge. How do we go from that old bank to the digital core structure? Now, we all know we have to do this, and there's a lot of people saying banks are about to die. I don't say that, because I don't believe it. But a lot of people do believe that, and even some of the bank leaders that I talk to believe there's a problem here. You know, Jamie Dimon, 2014 shareholder letter saying Silicon Valley is going to eat our lunch, and the next day there's a billboard going around New York saying, you're right, we're going to eat your lunch. So there's a battle going on between the digitalized open source technology, internet-based structures, and the incumbent monolith physical structures of the past. And it's really illustrated well by a couple of points that come out. This is a slide that's going around quite extensively based on the rise of the digital giants, the internet